more. Welcome back to Co-Work Radio here on KZSB 1290 AM. I'm Catherine Raymock along with Jane Walker-Wood, and we are here as we are every week with UCSB professor and author John Greathouse. He is here to answer your questions, and you can email those questions, askjohn@coworkradio.com. Go to our website at coworkradio.com as well. Hey, John, how you doing?
Awesome. How about you?
Oh, just great. Hey, we've got a question, and it's from Kyle. Kyle is he runs a nonprofit, and wondering if you have any kind of insight into the new tax plan and how it might affect nonprofits. A lot of big changes coming, and he wants to protect his mission.
Yeah, Kyle. So I'm not a tax expert. Don't play one on TV. So obviously I can't give specific tax advice because I just don't know it. But I can speak to the issue. I always feel like tax deductions are sort of like saying thank you when a favor is given. They're nice, but they're not the reason you're doing it. So I think most people aren't going to donate money to a charity just because there's a tax deduction.
But doesn't that depend whether we're talking about a company donating money through, like, say, a foundation or versus an individual donating money on their specific tax return?
It absolutely will make a difference. So I think an individual might be more sensitive to the deduction. But here's the advice I would give Kyle, because we can't control that change in the law. I would just remind him and everyone, and I've worked with people that are starting nonprofits, it's just like a for-profit business. When somebody writes you a check, they're just like a customer or an investor. They want a return. Nobody's going to write you a check and say, leave me alone, I don't ever want to hear from you again. Like they'll write you a check because they believe in your mission. Well, understand the why. Why did they write you the check? And the why might be slightly different for different people, and then service that why. So when you see that person again, when you communicate with that person, make sure you're reminding them the underlying value proposition that you're bringing into the community or whatever, whomever you're servicing, and just remind them that their money is making a difference, and be concrete about it. So have some quantifiable statistics, maybe have a case study. I do some work with the Scholarship Foundation, and they always bring in students that have been affected by the scholar. I mean, it's just heart.
Now,
it's
I have a
heart-rendering.
question, because our show is based in Santa Barbara,
Yep.
and as you know, we just had the mudslides of Montecito, and
Yes.
a lot of charitable money now is going towards what's happening in Montecito, and the established charities in Santa Barbara are receiving less money. So how do they adjust to this?
Again, I think it's explaining their value prop and reminding people that it's important too. I mean, I think there's going to be trends in giving. Just when something makes the news, whether it's overseas or in your own backyard. Again, those are hard to fight against. But you're gonna, if your nonprofit's up and running, you probably have some core givers already. So just make sure you're communicating with those core givers and you don't lose them to another nonprofit. It's fine if they make a donation over there, but you want to keep them in your fold, right?
It's definitely, Jane and I have had this discussion, and I don't know that if you know this, but I'm actually the development director over at CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. So we've started to see this trend, and one of the things that I've thought about doing is banding together with other nonprofits, because the retail community does so great with this, right? They don't mind saying, look, we need people to come out and shop, and we're going to create cash mobs and do all this stuff, but for some reason there's an apology almost from the nonprofits, and there shouldn't be. And Jane actually thinks there should be more people working together within the nonprofits.
Well, I could see some mergers taking place, and I did read just last week that Santa Barbara Symphony and Libero are going to merge, and I don't know if that came as a result of the funding cuts or if that was already pre-planned. But if some of the charities are similar, if they merged.
Right. Yeah, or just maybe even merge on events or merge on fundraising.
That's not a bad idea. And then you can try out like the new partnership instead of going right into the marriage.
Well, and it's also a little bit of cross-selling. Like if you have certain donors that I don't have, but we're both doing something related to drug and alcohol, maybe I'm doing a different stage on the continuum. Maybe I'm doing housing and you're doing intervention or whatever. Getting those groups together and exposing donors to multiple complementary, and then selling that story and saying, look, I'm helping on this side of the equation. This other nonprofit's helping over here. Together, we're making a difference. Again, I think it's you should not be apologetic. It's a business. If you believe in the value you're bringing into the community, you should not be ashamed to talk about it, and you should not be ashamed to try to get the money that you think you need to make the mission happen.
I love that. Hey, John, when you're dealing with entrepreneurs, and I hadn't really thought of it until I read this question because so many of our nonprofits are there, but of course they were created at one point. How many people have you starting up want to create an actual nonprofit, not a physical something?
My students come to me all the time, every year, and I have a few that are still running 6-7 years later. They're successful. They're fulfilling their mission. We do, again, this is for Santa Barbara listeners, not folks maybe listening to this online, but we do have the Hutton Foundation in town. We're very fortunate to have them, and they have an organization that works specifically to help nonprofits get started. So if you contact them, they have a program to help you start a new nonprofit, which I think is a wonderful gift in our community. Not every community has that.
It is. In fact, they are so forward-thinking that they have offered emergency grants for nonprofits that have been affected with their funding due to, and it's a sliding scale on what your budget is. But they're great, the Hutton Parker Foundation.
That's wonderful.
John, thank you so much for joining us. You're going to be back next week.
I will be.
You look like you're heading off to Hawaii. You're not going to leave us again, are you?
I will, but but only for a week.
Oh, okay. You are listening to KZSB 1290 AM. You can get your questions in by going to coworkradio.com. We'll see you next week.
All righty.